So one of the questions that we've gotten really consistently over the last couple of weeks from a lot of you and others who are not able to join us today was, hey, my spring annual appeal is around the corner, or I have a thing that's coordinated with Nurses Week or Volunteer Week or Doctors Week. There's a lot of weeks these days in the spring, and saying, hey, we're going to try to send out something. Does it need to be COVID branded? Is it too soon to not do that? How can we do this? Should we not do our annual appeal at all? So we've kind of done some research on what's been working and what we've seen with the data. So Trish, you can actually go ahead and go to that next slide if you can. The first thing that we know and that we've realized over the last few weeks is that a lot more people are opening their mail. So how about that? The things that we're sending out in the paper mail are getting a way better response and open rate than they were even a month ago and have in a decade. So we know that people will definitely have eyes on this. This is obviously just an example of an annual appeal that can go out. We've all seen these. If you have a mailing list, your full mailing list usually will send out for this. If you can get 0.5% or more back, it more than pays for itself. Yes, you're going to get a little bit of money from this. Of course, it is still financially worth it to send out snail mail. Maybe another decade it won't be, but right now, the target demographic for these obviously still exists and does really well. So this is a really, really great way to capture a little bit of cash, but more importantly, get information out and capture new donors that you can move up from your annual giving level onto your higher, your special and signature gifts, and kind of extend your donor base. So the short answer off the bat is yes, absolutely need to send out an annual appeal. It needs to be really, really specific and easy. You can COVID brand it a little bit. You can talk about that. You don't want to ignore it, but just kind of a message from the executive director, or a message from the leadership, or a message from the CEO. This is what's happening right now. Here's how we're dealing with it, and these are the specific things that we need. Obviously, have a pledge form that you can attach and they can send back with a check. And we've seen a lot of success, and the people who have been doing this have gotten actually a higher rate of return on their annual appeal when they address the COVID than they have in years past, just doing the normal annual appeal. So if you have a spring mailing that you're having or planning to go out, would highly, highly recommend you consider still doing that, and just have some language in there that it talks truthfully about the challenges that you're facing and what you need the community to do to step up and help. So Trish, actually, if you can go to that next slide as well. These are the kind of the best practices for annual appeal customization that we've pulled from all kinds of forums, and we've gone to a couple online webinars and kind of gotten some data back from people who've already sent mailing appeals over the last 2 weeks. And these are the things that we know have worked right now. So the first is to be very, very specific about why you need special funds. So saying, oh, we need money for COVID is kind of specific, but not quite specific enough. People say, great, I can understand that you probably would need money, or you would need funding, or you would need whatever, but what exactly are you going to be using that for? Why exactly? Is it for masks? Is it supplies? Is it to hire more frontline workers? Is it to help with furloughed employees, which we know is happening pretty rampantly right now? What are the specific things that we need? So to have a dollar amount on there saying, we're trying to raise $100,000 this month in support of this. We're trying to raise $50,000, $300,000, whatever number that you can kind of put to, these are the list of things that we may need and that we need to work. Be very, very specific about why you need the cash, where it's going to be spent, what your goal is. The second thing is to be very, very positive and uplifting. We all get a lot of bad news all the time these days. I myself have to limit my news media intake to a small window every day. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get all my news in, I'm gonna learn about what's going on in the world, and I'm gonna be away from it the rest of the day. It's too depressing. There's a lot of bad news going on. The more you can be uplifting and positive and encouraging about, hey, we're struggling, but we're struggling together and we're fighting this and it's working and here's why it's working, the better your rate of return will be. It'd be very, very easy to say, oh, things are terrible and we need your help and it's all going, crazy right now. But actually doing the opposite will get you a better rate of return and be able to connect better with your constituency. Saying, we're doing a lot of neat things right now. It is challenging. We're having a hard time, but here's the ways that we're overcoming those challenges, and here's how we're going to be able to move forward through this and afterwards in the community. So starting out with a positive message and kind of ending on a positive note saying, here's how you can help, will definitely help about your rate of return and the amount of money you can bring in. Next is to talk about your successes. If there's any neat stories or cool things that you've done, maybe it's just a single story that you can send out. And obviously we want to do this quite a bit with our social media as well because it's immediate. But if there's something big that you've been able to do that you want to talk about amid all of this, talk about it. And people want to give to a winning team. We know that in fundraising as a whole to say, we need this money or we're going to go out of business. So we need this money so we don't file bankruptcy. A donor is going to go, I don't really feel like giving because in another 5 years, even if you have my money, you're going to go bankrupt again. Like I want to give to an organization that's going to be here for the long run. I want to invest in something that's going to invest back in me and my community. So talk about your success. Talk about the things that are going well. If people necessarily don't think, oh, we don't need the money or we do, talk about the things that are going well and talk about the need and how they can be even better. We'll get you a great rate of return as well. You'll want to give a really specific time frame for the COVID-related fund if you're going to be doing that. To say, we're going to be running this from May 1st to June 1st. We have to get all the funds in before this time. Flatten the curve. We know that the curve is going to be about here by this time. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but we know we have to get it done within this time frame. And saying, the deadline is here. We don't want to apologize for that. We have to have this done. We have to reach our financial goal of X by X date to get that. That will kind of create a little bit of sense of urgency of, oh, okay, yes, I may be an annual donor or I may be in the middle of a pledge, but this is something new and specific related to what's going on, and it kind of separates it out from any giving or any support they're already doing. Have an option listed on there for online giving and credit card giving, saying, if you don't want to mail in a check, please visit our website at organization/donate. So that people can say, okay, I do want to give time to take an envelope and mail a thing and send it in. Like, can I just log on my phone and do this? Yes, absolutely. It's very, very easy. Go to this website, you put in your credit card information, boom, done. You get your receipt. And it's all very, very quick. So just make it very, very easy on the sheet to say, this is what we're going to be doing. Here are the ways you can give. You can send a check back with this form that we've provided in the return, or you can visit us at suchandsuch.org. You'll want to customize the salutation for past donors versus non-donors. So if it's someone who's given to you before, you definitely want the heading and the first paragraph to be very, very different than it's someone who has not given to you before. You want to have that special appeal to the donors and lead with, we're so appreciative of your support over the years. We cannot thank you enough for all the amazing things that you've been able to do. And now we need your help again. And we wouldn't normally ask something like this, but this is a little bit of a special situation. We're out here doing this, and this is why we need this additional support right now. And then you can have a different one for your non-donors saying, introducing yourself and saying, this is why we need the support. But to make sure that you have a specific different one branded for the people who have already given to you will increase your rate of return as well. And lastly, encourage them to follow you for updates and information. This is especially true of healthcare organizations, of hospitals and hospices, to say, there's a lot of information flying around right now. It's all a little bit scary. It's all a little bit confused. We're getting different things from different sides. If you want to stay up to date on exactly what's going on with healthcare in our community right now, you can subscribe to our newsletter. We send out it every week, every month, whatever. You can follow us on a Facebook page where we're going to be having updates all the time. So if you want the latest information, here's where you can get it. It's going to be accurate, it's going to be quick, and it's going to be instant. And we encourage you to follow. So you'll see your rate of open on emails and your following on social media grow as well. So again, those are kind of the key things to include. Obviously, it doesn't need to be longer than one page, but if you can follow those steps and get it sent out over the next 3-4 weeks or so, we'll see a pretty astonishing rate of return, much higher than we normally would for a standard annual appeal, actually. And that's kind of the best way to customize that. So really quickly, before I turn it back over to Marty, want to see if there's any specific questions for a customized annual appeal. All right, fantastic. And keep in mind too, if you aren't able to talk, happy to have the questions if you want to type them into the chat. We'll get to them that way. But with that, I will turn it back over to Marty.
Great, thanks, Jake. As Jake mentioned, and as is obvious from hopeful the beautiful sunshine out there, we are in the spring season, and the memorial and honorary giving appeals are often coming at this time of year. Some of you refer to them as gifts of remembrance and tribute. I'm going to go with memorial and honorary giving for the sake of conversation today. But just wanted to point out some reminders and things to make sure we have our programs in place, because they can go very nicely out at this time of year in the form of one of your appeals. Trish, if you could go to the next slide for me. If you don't already have some sort of a program to encourage gifts in memory or in honor of friends, acquaintances, and caregivers, make sure that you do put something in place. Now is the time. Now, there's no better time than now. A memorial gift, as we know, can help carry on the values that someone had throughout their life. And honorary gifts, especially now, are very, very popular to celebrate someone who is making a difference, like the caregivers, or just someone you're wanting to honor based on a significant event in that time frame. So having a system in place to recognize and honor individuals that your constituencies have meaningful connections with is definitely something that needs to take place. Looking to the next slide, kind of at the upcoming key dates to remember as we're making some of these appeals and some of these reminders and good touch points. You know, when Jake mentioned having a specific time frame on an appeal, having a specific time frame to inspire someone to take action now is always a good way to get people inspired. I know when we send out appeals with memorial gifts, we often do it around the Memorial Day holiday. And when you're sending an envelope for a gift like that, sometimes people will hold on to those and use them throughout the year, but it's a great time of year to honor people. But also looking at, you know, the front lines, those that are on the front lines during this crisis right now. We've got Nurses Week and Hospital Week coming up in early May, both of them. What better time than to do some sort of a targeted appeal to say honor those in the front lines. It's a really, really meaningful way and a fun way to engage people to recognize and thank, and also to support your cause. So don't forget that. The other one that is next week that I just want to take a little plug for is National Volunteer Week. And just to piggyback onto what Ken was saying earlier, on getting up the courage to go ahead and make some of those tough phone calls that you might be putting off for whatever reason, what better time than National Volunteer Week to call and thank your volunteers and your supporters, just to say thank you, just to see how they're doing, and you never know where the conversation can go from there. So keep those dates in mind, both now and into the future as you look at springtime and honorary giving. Moving on into the next slide, Trish. Just wanting to keep top of mind, again, making sure that we have the structure in place. And for anyone who needs samples or wants to talk with your team leaders about developing just an envelope that makes it easy for distribution, that can be shared now or during other times, that easily can help your volunteers help share the message, making sure that you have something that's targeted towards memorial and honorary giving is key. Same thing on your website, right? If someone thinks, gosh, I want to do something, I want to make a gift, I want to honor those caregivers on the front lines, and they go to your website and there's not a place that's very clear that they can honor someone, they're going to get frustrated and fumble through it. So it's important to have that set up in an easy way, that any gift could be in honor of someone, but also having something on your website that's like, click here to honor a caregiver, click here to, you know, make a memorial gift. Having that simple way to go at it from several different angles on your website is very important, because if you're driving them there and they're inspired, you want it to be easy. So we can definitely help customize those if you don't already have those in place. Now is a great time to enlist volunteers, specifically your annual gifts committee, to help share the message through some personalized notes, emails, and phone calls, rallying the troops and saying, hey, we want to get the message out about our Memorial and Honorary Gifts program. We've got National Volunteer Week, we've got Nurses Week, we've got Hospital Week, and we've got Memorial Day coming up, and enabling them to make those touch points as appropriate through your program. Now is a really, really great time to do that. It gives them a purpose for making those contacts on your behalf. And I think it was Jim that said it earlier, you know, the keys to successful programs, continual visible recognition always is having that top of mind. We know that people inspire people. So when you're looking at your Memorial and Honorary Gifts program, making sure that you're not only recognizing the donors, but you're also recognizing those who were honored, because you never know whose name being honored is going to inspire someone else to make a gift in their honor as well, or to say, hey, wow, I haven't thought about my physician or my nurse that I know that I could also honor. So just keeping that in mind, and listing of current honorees and donors in each newsletter, yearly publication, your website, wherever you can get that out, is definitely key to helping keep it top of mind. I think the consistent messaging, keeping it top of mind, but there's no better time than the present to make sure that that information is out there and that it's easy for people to navigate and utilize. So with that, that's the end of my slides. I'm very excited. We've got some, in addition to Ken's story, we've got some other great samples and stories. I have several of you that I'm planning to call on today. I said this earlier, I'm going to say it again. Make sure that you are speaking slowly enough and clearly enough so people can understand you, but we're also have several samples to cover, so keeping our remarks brief will be appreciated as well. First, I'm going to actually call on Patty. She's got several samples. A couple of them are focused on a time urgency with challenges, and then a couple with a major large health system that we thought you'd definitely like to see some messaging there. So Patty.
Thank you, Marty. So matching and challenge gifts, we've had a number of clients through the years who've had tremendous success with this. So a matching or a challenge gift can transcend and does transcend the type of nonprofit that you're in. It also can be used at any time if you need a little extra inspiration, if your campaign is stalled or if you have a special need. And in this case, COVID is a special need in many cases. So we wanted to just bring this up and address this as a way to look at something right now, not to say that we might want to also save some of these ideas as far as challenge matching gifts for when COVID is past and we are trying to relaunch our campaign. So we may have other discussion later about this topic. And of course, each of you with your individual team leaders, call us with questions, because everyone's going to be in a little bit of a different situation. But we did want to just share a few of those. For those of you who are not familiar with challenge or matching gifts, there's a lot of different ways we can do that. In this particular situation, this is an organization that the organization itself has issued the challenge, and it's 100,000 in 7 days. And so they are saying, this is what we need. And then all the volunteers, everyone is calling, they're on the phone, there's social media, and they are really zeroing in and really putting themselves out there with the goal, saying in the next 7 days, we want to accomplish this challenge. So that's the first one to look at. Just go ahead and go to the next slide is kind of a little bit about how challenges can work. We have had clients who have had very successful challenges up to $1 million. In some cases, oftentimes it's a donor or a volunteer, or the donor can be individual, or it can be a business who says, I will make a gift of X amount of dollars, and I will match 101 what everyone else gives over a certain finite period of time. The important thing is it's got to be a finite period of time. Now, finite, we've had it as long as 6 months, but so as you're looking at what you're doing now and also post-COVID, think about how we might be able to use a little inspiration. But the $1 million gift grant that, or the challenge that we had, was the donor said, if you raise $900,999, you get 0. If you raise $1 million, I'll match the $1 million. So that is tremendous motivation. And so a lot of these challenges that we're starting to see around the country right now, which we knew were going to be coming, are those where if I will match if you will give X amount of dollars. And so again, it's something that's unique for the communities, but very, very important to think about how could we use that extra little that extra little push to do that. If you have a donor, as you're also thinking about those of you who've had to cancel your events, if you have a donor, maybe a corporate donor who was used to getting a very visible sponsorship and getting a lot of visibility, this might be a good place for them to be, a good space for them to be in, to say, hey, you will get at least as much visibility if you'll make a challenge of X, and then you'll get at least as much because people say, Bank of America is doing this over this period of time. If you match it, Bank of America will match it dollar for dollar or 2 for 1 or whatever it wants to be. So there's a lot of different creative ideas that we can use. So we're not going into a lot of detail today, other than to say to keep it in your back of your mind or the front of your mind as how could we use that extra little push and what type of a challenge. So so just go ahead to the next one. You're going to be getting these samples here of just some of the first few. This is a local health system, and with the challenge as well. So we can absolutely spend more time on this individually with you, but just know that it's a tool that you can use to support what Marty and Jake were talking about as far as all these appeals that are coming up for COVID or beyond. How can we use this challenge to give us that extra push? The next slide is to looking at just an organization that has always done an incredible job in fundraising. It's been we raised money with them for their $100 million campaign, and many of you met Diana Boyce at our Pride Development Conference. This is we just wanted to kind of show you theirs. They've got some just really good graphics. Trish, you can just kind of scroll through this in the interest of time. We'll go through quickly, but some of the things that we thought were really impressive about what they did. Go to the next slide. Or that they have a lot of different options. They did talk about the relief fund. They have that. Your generosity heals. And just continue to kind of flip through this fairly quickly. Here's the donor page, which is pretty standard, very simple, with the different price ranges. But again, good screenshots on that. And moving through that to the next. Continue to scroll to the next slide. Thank you. Is that they have options of where you can give money, you can give things, you can give notes, you can give letters and cards. But I think the key thing is that through these slides that they were giving a lot of options. And the other thing that they've done very effectively, Trish can go to the next slide. There you go. So they have the relief fund, they have item donation, they have cards and notes. Again, the cards and notes kind of tie into what we're talking about as far as the gifts in honor and gifts in memory. So those are important. Say, what can we do? Well, notes of encouragement, you can do a gift in honor of someone. The impact of your generosity, this is important. They did a great job early on of getting those little stories in there. Some of those are staff, some of those are volunteers, some of those are administration, some of those are patient and family stories. And so showing the impact with the stories, which all of those can then be, of course, shared in social media. So they did a good job with that as well. And then the other thing that they did, just moving through here, these are great. So it's just showing the impact. They also did the notes of encouragement from some of the people on the site. So just overall, just a really good job. A lot of you guys are doing some very, very similar things, but we just wanted to kind of share that they have a pretty good comprehensive piece of showing impact, emotion, individual stories, practical stories, and so it's all in there in one place, which we thought was very good. Any specific questions on any of those? And again, on the challenge matching gifts, it's probably going to be more of a team leader specific because each of you has such a different situation. But know that that's always nice to know that you've got that extra little push, particularly if you are about to start sending out some appeals and focusing on.
Thank you, Patty. Moving to our next speaker, I'd like to call on Brenda from Lake Regional Health System in Missouri. Brenda has several slides that she's going to share. They had a really great plan, lots of wonderful images to take note of, a solicitation letter signed by their CEO, and a website sample. But if you could share about your successes, I know y'all have been on the phone, and turning it over to Brenda.
Well, Brenda just flipped it over to me, Marty.
Terry,
got done
you're
with my
upside down. That's why I thought it might be you back, but you're upside down in my.
Oh, upside down. Okay. Well, I thought maybe it was a beautiful hairdo. You know, nobody can get their hair cut right now. So yeah.
Thank you, Terry.
As I was telling Patty, I said once we got the go ahead, and I think I reported last week too that we finally got the go ahead. Our PR department just knocked it out of the water, in my opinion. They worked with another ad agency just to help us get this all going, but to date, we've come up with, we've raised $18,000, $18,093 actually. And Patty, this morning I've got 3,000 more, so we're still pushing that. We have a new Facebook page. We have new marketing materials. I think what you're seeing right now is the Greatest Need campaign materials that our PR department developed and the post copy that they were going to use. So social media, website, all those changes have been made within the last 2 days. So like I said, once we got going, Jennifer just hit it out of the water. She just did a great job doing that. Last week we did the press release on the cancellation of the golf tournament and asking people to redirect those dollars to the COVID-19 fund, response fund. This is the Facebook post that you're seeing right now, and also that ad is in 2 of our major magazines that we have down here. It's going out. We also have a press release going out next week, early next week, on the new COVID-19 response fund with a letter from Dane. And then Dane also has a radio interview scheduled for this morning. I was going to do that, but he was able to step in my place. So I think that's going to be real impactful there too. So.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Terry. No, that's great. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Next, I'd like to call on Kelly with Beauregard Health System in DeRidder, Louisiana. Kelly, are you still there?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kelly. If you don't mind sharing a little bit about what you've already set up and some of your plans that we're moving forward with.
Okay, so just a quick history. We are in the very beginning of forming our foundation. We were just have formed our board with a chair and committee chairs, and Joni was supposed to be here in March. Jake was supposed to be here next week to do orientation. We were right in the middle of our employee giving campaign, and all that came to a screeching halt. So we changed gears. We created the COVID-19 Emergency Assistance Fund. We didn't have a landing page on our website yet. We went ahead and created that with an online donations giving form, and did some social media pushes. And so in the beginning, we didn't have an online donation form, so we sent out information and started getting in paper checks. And so we just launched the online donations on our landing page on our website. So we have set for next Tuesday with a recommendation of Jake with all of our department directors and our foundation board to post on their own website to promote the COVID-19 with a message that we've created for social media. Unfortunately, we don't have a database of givers because we are just starting. So we're trying to find creative ways to reach our community, and you know, with the folks that have already joined our foundation board for them to reach out as well. So we've gotten in yesterday about $1,500. So we're just now starting, and so we'll hopefully, you know, Jake said our goal was 30 grand, so that's what we're going to work for.
Good job, Kelly. Great. Yeah, I think that's just a wonderful example of it. Doesn't matter where you're at in your program, and we're all pivoting. We're all having to keep evaluating our communications, and you're doing a great job there. Keep it up. Thank you for sharing. Jim, I have an e-newsletter from Montgomery Hospice I'd love for you to share a little bit about.
Great. Thanks very much, Marty. Appreciate that. This is really just a thank you from the CEO, Ann Mitchell, who's a fairly visible and long-term individual executive there in the community in Montgomery Hospice, Montgomery County, Maryland. And really just a thank you and some visibility and appreciation, as we know that, we heard from Ken and from others that if we just communicate effectively, it's amazing what happens and what we get. But just that thank you, that visibility, that they're there doing their thing and continuing to take care of patients, important. But a nice message, pretty easy to get out. And this is also part of something on a regular basis. They have a regular e-newsletter that they provide as well. So they do a nice job there with that. They're very consistent with their efforts, and we know that that's the key to this whole process. So back to you, Marty.
Thank you. The next couple slides are Covenant Care in primarily across Florida. And what we wanted to show you here is that they are doing, again, another hospice organization. They're showing just some really great tangible things that they're doing right now. Let's just go on to the second slide, I believe it is, that has, they've actually been able to purchase iPads and provide internet access for their nursing home patients. And they also have very specific dollar amounts and what that means and how that helps. And just really doing a nice job of, again, keeping consistent communication out and what they're able to do. And we wanted to share that. So in the essence of time, I'm going to go pretty quickly through a couple more slides because I have 3 more people to call on. This was just a really great Facebook post or a LinkedIn post, I think. It's kind of tough to see, but it's, again, that back to that impact report. It's good to get some impact reports out. I feel like we haven't seen as many stories yet, so a lot of us are having to go towards the impact reports, but we hope there'll be more stories forthcoming. Moving on to the next one, we've got a website that we wanted to share. Just had a really good, clean, simple website and it's a health system kind of in the center of it all in New York City. So we just wanted to show what they're doing there. Next, I'd like to call on Jessica with Tidelands Health in South Carolina. Jessica, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me good?
Yes, thank you, Jessica.
Okay. So we kicked off really it was an effort of our marketing staff called Thank You to the Helpers. And so they really reached out to our community and asked our community we had these signs printed up that they could print directly from our website that said, thank you to the helpers, and we asked them to take a picture. So we've gotten pictures from, our local Chamber of Commerce office, banks, and they're all holding up those signs that say, thank you to the helpers. We've received a lot of in-kind donations from, restaurants to, anything you can think of. We've had artists draw, little paintings of landmarks in the area that they've delivered those to our staff, just all sorts of things. But what we did to kind of manage that is we assigned a director, like our food service director accepts all the food donations, and then we have a supplies director that accepts like equipment donations. And we've asked people to go to our website to fill out a form, and then that form is issued to those directors, and then the foundation follows up. I get a list of all of that, and then we send out acknowledgments for those gifts in kind. And so we've really had a good response there. And then monetary donations. Right now, we were asking folks, if they wanted to make a donation, that would go towards our employee relief fund effort, or our efforts for the uninsured in the community to ensure that they could get transportation to testing and of that nature. But starting today, we're going to do a little bit more of a just specific effort towards COVID relief efforts. And we're going to create our Helpers Fund, which ties along to that Thank You to the Helpers. And we are hoping to get that live on our website this afternoon. So that's kind of where we are with things. But with this effort monetarily, we've already brought in about $27,000.
Awesome work, Jessica. Thank you so much for sharing. And if y'all can see, like, look at that great list, and they did a really nice job of getting those donors up there quickly, showing that recognition. That inspires, right? If you see others are doing it, you're going to be inspired to do the same. So good work. Keep it up. Megan with Frederick Health, you are next. Megan.
So we've been using social media a lot. We did, for the Development Council, our page, when we first started, we had under 200 followers, and now we have more than 600 followers, and we've been sharing our updated wish list. Amanda has been creating a new image every time it changes, so the daily phone calls with the senior leadership have helped us provide what our greatest needs are. And our office, which is in the picture, has served as the donation drop-off point. We put a large bin from one of the moving companies outside the office, so it eliminates any contact, which we learned the hard way. We all were taking everything in. But we're getting snacks that we're distributing to the different departments in the hospital, and they really like that. We have them refill it. We get help from our service excellence team, and they come refill the snack buckets and deliver them to the different areas that we don't get to. And then whatever we need, whatever the greatest need is posted on our Facebook page. And the community has really responded well. Our office is filled with different items every day. We get homemade masks, and now we're looking for gowns. And our auxiliary is making the patterns and cutting those out. And then we give the kits out to the community, and they're sewing them. So the power of social media has really helped us with our needs.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. That consistent messaging has been very, very valuable. Good work. Last but not least, and I don't have a sample here, but I wanted to call on Donna with Evangelical Community Hospital in Pennsylvania. Donna.
Hi, Marty. So we've been doing a lot of the things that you've talked about. I think one of the things that we've been really fortunate with is one of our board members is the owner of the local radio stations. So we have been able to really have access to PSAs on all 5 of his stations. And one of his former employees now works for Evangelical and is an adjunct to our marketing team. And so he has been writing new PSAs for us every week. So that's been really helpful. We have 3 different PSAs that we're focused on. One is a thanks to the community. The other is talking about needs. And the third one is directing folks to our COVID-19 emergency fund. So, and it's very interesting that, you know, every time we refresh either on the PSAs or on Facebook, you can really see the surge of gifts that come in right after that. And then you see it kind of slope off again, and as soon as we target it again. This particular individual also is now going to be working with me on getting more frequent posts out on our social media. And he's also helping me create something that I'm going to be able to share with all of my campaign volunteers and anyone that is a volunteer in fundraising, that we can have them have something ready-made if they want to post it on their own Facebook account. So that's the next initiative. So we have had to rely a great deal on social media and our website and these PSAs because during this, during our pandemic plan, I am the only one in my office. So my 5 staff members have all been furloughed. So this has been a very interesting time for me. I've learned to do a lot of things that I didn't know I could do.
Good work. Keep it up, Donna. Keep it up. I know. Very interesting times. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And how much money have you raised so far as well? Didn't you just have a few short days of this that you've been implementing, and you've had some great success already?
We have, I am just calculating that right now because one of the things I don't know how to do is gift entry. So I'm kind of manually trying to track this, but we've raised over $20,000 in the COVID fund. So I'm and that's pretty much all by direction of what people are hearing on the radio or on our Facebook. So, and a part of that is also some unrestricted giving that's coming in. So that is also considered just general help during this time.
Wonderful. That's great. Well, thank you all so much.